Well, hello again. Welcome back to another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. We are doing the new releases today for July 29th, 2022, as to what I have here in the store ready to sell to you lovely folk. Okay, so, and I also have some bits of news that I want to cover at the end. A little bit of responses to everything that's been going on. I'll try to keep this brief. I say that every time. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. So I suppose there's actually a fair amount of new releases again this week. This is very interesting development for the summers because we don't usually have this. But I think a lot of these projects were in the pipeline and then COVID sort of pushed everything back. So we're getting really good stuff in the middle of the summer. And this week, the reissue campaign, I think, is off the charts with great stuff. First of all, we have Grateful Dead, Europe 72, which has gotten a very nice deluxe remaster here from Rhino. And yeah, this is the 50th anniversary edition, 3 LPs on 180 gram vinyl. And looks really nice in this attractive little bag. So check that out. And it is also available on a double CD remastered. So also cool. CDs have been actually doing pretty well lately. I mean, better than they have been. I wouldn't say that they're going to rescue the industry or anything like that. Not like vinyl. But the other thing of note that this to me screams Record Store Day or Black Friday. So, but right now they're only putting out the CD, which is also another Grateful Dead piece. This is Live at the Lyceum in London, 1972. So, kind of ties in with the Europe 72. It's actually a bigger piece than the other one. You can see the track listing there if you want. And freeze frame that, whatever you do. So it's a 4 CD set, runs about $40, from the Lyceum Theatre, London, England, May 26, 1972. So, and this was actually one of the last shows, if not, I think the last, with Pigpen that was recorded. But anyway, so that might be of note to people. When I say it screams Record Store Day, it feels to me like that may be something that comes in a box set on vinyl later, possibly Record Store Day. Who knows? Plans up in the air. All right, another big reissue this week. Little Feat, Waiting for Columbus. This album has been screaming for reissue for a while now, and so we're getting one again from Warner. I don't know, I suppose Rhino has something to do with it, but yeah, Rhino Entertainment. So this is probably one of Little Feat's, well, probably, it's one of their best albums, even though it's live. It's probably their biggest selling album, the one I get the most requests for. Brand new cut from the original master tapes, one of the great live albums of all time. So that's cool that that's coming out now. If you're a Little Feat completist and you really love that album, this is way cool. This is the CD box set for Waiting for Columbus. Looks pretty substantial, right? 8 CDs. You're like, my God, how did they expand this to 8 CDs? So it's the original 1978 album, double, newly remastered, plus 3 previously unreleased complete live shows from the Waiting for Columbus tapes. Manchester, 1977. That was July 29th. July 20th, it's actually 35 years ago today. London, August 2nd of that year, and Washington, D.C., August 10th. So it runs about $100, but 8 CDs, that's not too bad, right? So I don't know. It's all relative, right? Okay, and the third big reissue today, which has been kind of weird the way it's being handled, is Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. And this is a vinyl edition. Steven Wilson of Porcupine Tree remixed it. and did the remaster. It says the 50th anniversary in its original 12-page sleeve. This record was cut at half speed. Okay, at Air Studios London on a fully customized late Neumann VMS80 lathe with fully recapped electronics from 96 kHz remasters. So yes, there's a digital step in this process, but anyway, it's going to sound great. During the process, playing back master at half speed makes difficult to cut high frequencies more manageable. There's some, people who have sort of been naysayers about half speed mastering. I think if you go back and look at some of, it was like Kevin Gray's comments maybe about, I can't remember if it was him or who it was. But, I just picked up the Roxy Music Avalon half speed master and it sounds flawless, fantastic. You get a little bit more warmth of the sound. Now, there are some people that say, oh, running at half speed, you might lose some of the frequency. So I don't know what to tell you. If it sounds good to these ears, then that's all I really can go by. Um, those of you with super discerning MoFi ears, or what, I'll get to that. All right, and then big new release finally on vinyl, unless you ordered it through the internet. Eddie Vedder, Earthling, finally out on vinyl about 6 months after it was released on CD. There was an edition apparently that he sold through his website that had kind of, sort of different artwork, I suppose, but this is the official sort of artwork. And there are two versions of this. One is colored vinyl and the other is not. And the only way that you can tell is by the price, because this one's like $4 more for the colored vinyl. I don't know why they don't put stickers on these things to tell people exactly what they're buying. That could be helpful. Sometimes they do. I noticed like the Smile, the new Radiohead project, has a very clear sticker on there that says what color it is and all that. So not like you can hear the difference in the sound. But anyway, controversial figure, but popular nonetheless. Eric Clapton's Nothing But the Blues, finally out on vinyl also. This came out on CD a couple months ago, and it was stuff from one of his tours in the 90s when he was playing a lot of just strictly blues music. So Clapton fans take note. Another great reissue this week from Blue Note, Sonny Clark's Dial S for Sonny. This is part of the classic series, remastered by Kevin Gray, cut by Kevin Gray from the original analog tapes. This actually features Hank Mobley and Art Farmer, among others. There you go. So all those Blue Note series have been extremely popular. And somebody said to me last night, they were texting me and we were talking about remastering houses. I don't know if you've seen yet, those of you who've been following this, Acoustic Sounds, which is a great company, Analog Productions, tied in, based out of Salina, Kansas. Chad Kassem is was the owner there of the company. Did a nice video highlighting how their process is, and go look for it on YouTube. It's really a fantastic half hour, using drones, interviewing some of the 120 employees that he has there. And it's sort of an inspiring kind of situation about how people come together and do something for the love of making, bringing great music to people in the best possible formats. And so where I'm going with that, I feel like, those kinds of things are really important. And with all the sort of controversy that we've had going on this week with mobile fidelity, that is something that you should look up on YouTube. It'll make you feel good. All right. Going along here, I'm sorry, I'll get back to that in a minute. Maggie Rogers, and this is her new release. This was delayed a month or so. This is the indie exclusive Tangerine Dream vinyl. The album's called Surrender, features the song That's Where I Am. She's kind of an up-and-coming artist. Her debut album did quite well. The Viagra Boys, Cave World. This is the indie exclusive, I believe, green vinyl. There are different versions of this. This album is also getting a lot of sort of critical buzz and acclaim. Yeah, so if you sort of like post-punk and stuff like that, quirky, wry humor, funny, check out Viagra Boys. Amanda Shires, this is her new record called Take It Like a Man. And, well, if you don't know who Miss Shires is, she's married to Jason Isbell, and a great musician, writer, artist in her own right. And she's been a participant in the Highwomen with Brandi Carlile. Check her out. Nas, I mentioned this album last week called Magic. Came out around Christmas time, finally out on vinyl. Last week we got the regular black vinyl. This week we get the color vinyl. Go figure, they couldn't get those two out on the same date. Some great reissues from some really great, I call them legacy artists now, I suppose. Elvis Costello's Mighty Like a Rose. This is a music on vinyl pressing, and it's on gold vinyl. This is actually a very underrated album of his. It came out after Spike, and sort of in the early 90s. He had just changed over to Warner Brothers as his label. And I think actually the most controversial thing about this album at the time was the hippie beard that he had going, even though he had it also during King of America a few years earlier. But people, they had a hard time. They were like, I can't get over it. Anyway, but this features the great song The Other Side of Summer, which is kind of like a cheerful Beach Boys-esque kind of song with really downbeat lyrics. As a kind of the irony of the song. It also featured All Grown Up, which is a great song, and So Like Candy, which is another really great song. Among other things, How to Be Dumb is another, very Elvis-y kind of track. And he just put out, what was that, a week or two ago, there was that Resurrection of Rusty record that was him with his childhood sort of friend doing updated takes on music that they did 50 years ago. So that's a very interesting guy. Laurie Anderson, Bright Red. So this record, she'd been gone for like 5 years and came back in 94 with this. Has the duet with Lou Reed called In Our Sleep. There's a typo on the sticker. I don't know if you can read that, but it says produced by Brain Eno. Not Brian. Album produced by Brain Eno. Okay. 3,000 individually numbered copies on red colored vinyl. And hey, you get an album produced by Brain Eno, which makes it a collector's item in and of itself. So these things happen. Jim James. This is a cool ass cover. Reissue of his solo record, Regions of Light and Sound of God. Deluxe reissue, 2 LPs on clear vinyl with a purple splash, aka there's a big purple blotch in the middle of these records, and it's way cool looking. I think that they always do a good job with sort of marketing Jim and sort of trying to figure out what to do. Hey, this guy, I'm glad that they're doing a reissue series for him. Boy, they're sort of stuck together here. Excuse me. It's been about time. It's a long time coming here. Moby. This is one of his first, if not, I don't know if it's his first. It's not really the first, but it's sort of his breakthrough album, kinda. It featured the song Go, which kind of sampled the Twin Peaks theme. It's very of its time, like early 90s, late 80s, very techno sort of like, and techno pop, very dance club music. And then on the other side of that, he had Moby's Ambient, which was the more moody kind of stuff that he was putting out at the time. Very piano and synth string based kind of stuff. The stuff that gave him a lot of jobs doing movie scores. There's a whole series of Moby reissues coming out. Play is coming out in a few weeks. It's been out before, but only as an expensive import, so that will be more affordable. The album that followed, 18, is another great album that featured some very similar kind of music to Play. I think that was the one with We Are All Made of Stars, and there's a Sinead O'Connor song on there called Harbor that's really beautiful too. There's other Moby stuff coming out. I think the only one I didn't see coming was Animal Rights, but that might be somewhere down the line or something. Anyway, there's a whole group of them. Yola Tango. I always get the title of this album wrong. I can hear the heart beating. I can hear the heart beating as one. There you go. Long album titles always throw me off. This is the 25th anniversary on limited opaque yellow vinyl. I had someone asking me for this recently, and I said, you know what? It's actually out of print, but it's coming out again, so here's your chance. It says limited, though, so I wouldn't wait too long if you're interested in that. Offspring Greatest Hits. This was a record store day thing. This is just a regular edition of it, which is cool because a lot of people, if they don't want the whole Offspring albums, you can get a lot of their big hits like Come Out and Play and Pretty Fly for a White Guy in one spot. And a new John Mayall. Well, actually, this came out earlier this year on CD, but The Sun is Shining Down is finally out on vinyl. This is the limited edition indie translucent blue edition. John is in his mid-80s now and still out there. Still kicking it. All right, good for him. And reissue Miles Davis, Man with the Horn. This is from Get On Down Records. They've done some other Miles type stuff. I love how they kind of put this Obi strip looking thing in here. This is from like 1980, I believe, or 81. So it was kind of after his long break, and he was kind of trying to find his way back a little bit. And then the last record I'm going to show here, Ani DeFranco's Living in Clip. This album we sold so much on CD when it came out, and it's really like an indie rock testament to the fact that she survived and thrived during an era when really, unless you were on a major label, you were kind of screwed. And her Righteous Babe records did really well, and this album sold a ton on CD, and it's actually now on vinyl for the first time on Red Smoke triple vinyl 25th anniversary. And a couple of CDs I want to mention. New Tedeschi Trucks. This is volume 3 in their series from I Am the Moon. This one's called The Fall, and this one features 6 tracks. And so we're on number 3 of 4, and then all of those come out September 9th on vinyl. And Colin James' new album, Fuse. He's blues guy, and the Elvis soundtrack CD to the Baz Luhrmann movie. I think that this is coming out on vinyl eventually. I'm not sure, but features Doja Cat, Eminem and CeeLo, Sway Lee and Diplo, Elvis, Yola, kind of all over the map. Elvis and Tame Impala, Elvis and Jack White. So yeah, it's definitely there's a Stevie Nicks and Chris Isaak song too. Baz Luhrmann's stuff is always very conceptual, so it's kind of a mix hodgepodge of stuff. I just want to point out here I have I mentioned earlier Chad Kassem in Salina, Kansas with Analog Productions, and right there is one of his records. John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman. Yeah, that was a really nice reissue that he had out earlier this year, giving you nothing but the finest. So my last sort of take on the MoFi gate, it looks like Mobile Fidelity, Jim Davis, the CEO or owner, I suppose, put out a statement apologizing to everybody for everything that's been going on. And while the apology was sort of a good apology in general, it came a little later than what people would have liked. And I think that people are going to find ways to criticize the apology, as I'm going to do here in just a brief. I thought it sort of covered the main bases, but one thing I think it left out was it did not apologize to the record store people, such as myself and others, who might have been selling Mobile Fidelity stuff to people all this time, putting our reputations on the line. And like I said, I never really assumed that Mobile Fidelity was 100% analog, because they never really mentioned that. Although now I've gone back and seen some other videos. There was one guy in particular, something on plastic. I'll have to give you the link somewhere. But he did a very good sort of analysis of the time frames of all of these things, and the fact that Mobile Fidelity did a really good job skirting away from the D word all the time, but used the A word plenty of times. So that I will criticize them for, as their information was quite misleading. And so for the record shop owners, I feel like a little bit, they kind of owe us an apology too, because we were the ones that put our reputations on the line to sell their product. And I've heard a couple of stories through YouTube too. One was of a customer who was disgruntled and had been buying Mobile Fidelity for years, and walked in with a box of all of their MoFi stuff and dropped it on the counter and said, "Here, I want you to take all this back and give me my money back." I mean, that is like, it's almost akin to like demanding reparations, right? There's really no way that we can sort of handle that sort of thing. And fortunately, I haven't had a lot of MoFi customers that bought in that quantity. And again, I'll say, even with that being said, MoFi's products generally are very, very good sounding. So it just, I guess, depends on if you're a purist or not, and sort of where you fall in that sort of argument. There have been some people who told me, they're like, "I appreciate how balanced your opinions have been." And that's kind of where I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, as I think most people are. But I do understand the passion of this, and I do understand people being upset. So I will not dissuade them from expressing their opinions. So, Analog Productions is a great company, so go watch their video and see maybe a little bit how they've differed in handling those sorts of things. There was also a live stream that he did with Michael 45, a German guy, in the last week, Chad Kassem, if you look that up too, that was very illuminating about, he asked him, "Do you ever use digital in the process?" And he said, "What is the name of my company?" Analog Productions. "I only use analog." And he said there have been only a couple of cases that they ever had to do that. And sometimes dealing with compilations, or they just really could not source it any other way. And he said now, they're going to become more transparent on those issues as well. Let's hope Mobile Fidelity going forward is much more transparent, like they say they're going to be. Yeah, so I guess the other things that I wanted to mention about that, there have been discussions also about how the record companies have been really kind of screwing the indie stores in a way this year. And like everybody knows that the prices have gone up, especially Universal were the ones that got very aggressive with it. I'm sort of concerned that, that new Eddie Vedder record is pushing $50, as was the Smile record that I mentioned. And, most records are still not to that level, but it's sort of, are they pricing themselves out of a market by making vinyl way too expensive? And they have to be careful of this. And, so in 1968, $5 is equal to about $40 now. So in the rate of inflation, you can see where maybe that sort of lines up. However, as long as records were not being made, that kind of calls into question that situation. But one thing that's we're sort of seeing is that we've had a lot of stuff on back order for so long, and now that it's starting to come back in stock, some of it, they're coming back with higher prices. So it's like we put in an order, sort of like locking it in at a certain price, and now they're sending us some of the stuff that we've had on order for months and months and charging the higher prices all of a sudden. So it's a little bit of a bait and switch. We're having to sort of watch a lot of that stuff on our end too. So anyway, I'm just saying, please be like aware that we're trying to do the best that we can, and a lot of the prices that we have are based on, I mean, they're all based on what we're paying for them. So it gets a little screwy. A couple things I want to mention, weird things going on in the industry as far as certain bands. Tool, I've mentioned, and I'm just going to mention it again, that I send out apologies as far as being sort of screwed or taken advantage of to anybody who bought that expensive box set. Not that it wasn't a good product, it was a great product, but $180. We paid about $130 for each of those, and currently we're having to sell whatever is left for what we paid for it or less, because they announced that they were putting out a 3 LP edition of it. Now, they couldn't just wait a year to at least get through a Christmas season. So a lot of stores like me ordered extra, thinking that, oh, we're going to need this for Christmas, because people are always asking for Tool and we never have it. And now we have it, and now they're giving people an alternate edition that's cheaper. It's really a shisty move on their part. They should have just waited for like another few months. Because if they had announced both at the same time, saying, well, we're going to be putting out a cheaper version later this year, I think people would have been a little more like, oh, let's not just go crazy on ordering these things, you know? So that was sort of unfair and leaves another bad taste in this person's mouth regarding Tool and the way they handle their business practices. Fine if you want to make money, but at the expense of your fans and independent store owners, not cool. Beatles Blu-ray. I don't know what's going on with this. We've sold out of the Blu-ray now. The biggest distributor in the country is out of it, and so is the smaller ones. We've been told that that might be it for the Blu-ray. Apparently, it was sort of a battle getting those made. Peter Jackson said, I think there's a market for that. Disney didn't want to do it because they wanted to keep everyone streaming and locked into their channel. They gave in. They made a certain amount. They screwed it up the first time and had to recall them. And then they were just released again about 3 weeks ago. And now here we are. Probably no Blu-rays for Christmas. I don't know. I'll be surprised if that changes. But I'm just letting you guys know that that's the word on the street. Is that those were limited, and that's it. So we do still have the DVD for the time being. I don't know how long those are going to be out there either. All right, this is becoming sort of long here, but I just also wanted to mention that they just announced a new Red Hot Chili Peppers record for October 14th. That's their second record this year, following up Unlimited Love, which was the return of John Frusciante. That came out back in April, I believe. The other thing that was just announced today is October 7th. They're going to be reissuing The Cure's Wish on a 3 CD set featuring 25 lost demos or whatever is going to be added to that. The vinyl version of that is November 25th. And I looked that up and I was like, November 25th. When is Thanksgiving? When is Black Friday? Wouldn't you know, it's Black Friday, same day as Black Friday Record Store Day. That's going to be a major title on a very busy day already. So mark your calendars, day after Thanksgiving, if you want Cure's Wish on vinyl. A lot of people do. I think a lot of people have Disintegration. I just got that back in. I'd been out of that for about 6 months. And Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Kiss Me is now floating around again here and there. So I have that. And if you don't have those two records, you really need them. classic Cure records, and Wish is just one more to add. That's really the big trifecta of like what I would call their double album period. Because before that, Head on the Door, fantastic record, but a single. So anyway, all right, this has been a half an hour. I told you I try to keep these short, but this was kind of crazy. There's a lot to address. So thanks for your time. I gotta go get these records going and get my shop open. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like it. I don't know. I don't really beg for those things, and I have, my sort of small corner in the world of watchers, and I appreciate you guys. I'm not out there searching for like thousands and thousands, and you can kind of see where some people do that, and then they kind of get themselves into positions where the YouTube channels might drive them crazy if they get too many viewers. Sounds like I'm complaining about like having too many. I would never do that. But anyway, thank you so much. And again, have a wonderful weekend. And I'll catch you next week when we have David Bowie reissues and another Neil Young and Promise of the Real live next week. So they're not live here. I'll be selling the record. All right. You know that. Take care. Bye.